The beam does seem to hit him, and these frames are a thing in Kermit backs that separate the drewing from the other drewing. You can tell them, you can read it in the bark, the comic bark, the parges. Hello there, heroes. I'm the Orange Ranger, and welcome to another comically long review. I kind of hate to put things this way, but today's video really feels like kind of a funeral. It's an acknowledgement of the ending of something, but also a celebration. But while funerals are usually a celebration of lives lived, this video is really just a celebration that this arc is finally coming to an end. I have made it pretty clear that I am not a fan of Beyond the Grid. I wanted to be. I go into any piece of Power Rangers content prepared to love it until it gives me a reason not to. And I was thrilled that we were finally breaking away from the MMPR nostalgia and doing an arc of the series that focuses on the entire franchise. I'm not sure if Beyond the Grid was planned to be a 9-issue arc or if its plug was pulled, but it is beyond time for this to be over with. So let's get to the end of Beyond the Grid by taking a look at Mighty Morphin Power Rangers issues 37, 38, and its finale, 39. Fittingly, the main cover to issue 37 is confusing. It's the 7 Grid Rangers facing off against something and ready to fight. I'm not sure exactly what that is though, seeing as the Praetor is behind them. Well, if you're gonna pay tribute to something from Super Ninja Steel, this was your best bet. Another Team Up anniversary cover, this one for Dimensions in Danger. You may notice the absence of the Ninja Steel Rangers. Now this is what I'm talking about. This incredible drawing of the Grave Zord was done by Alejandro Germanico, aka Exermanico? Superb. And the Helmet series of covers comes to an end, as instead of Rangers looking at Ari, we see Ari looking down at the other Rangers. Last time on Beyond the Grid, the Rangers reached the world the Solarix was reaching towards and realized it was a world made entirely of Zeo crystals. Ari has no idea what that means, but Cam sure does. Remember how the show called the Zeo crystal a perpetual energy generator, growing ever stronger? This entire planet is a gigantic Zeo crystal. Heckle makes the best explanation. This planet could make the Dark Energem look like a trinket. But Zeo crystals seem to draw power from the Morphin Grid, so why would it be dangerous if they don't have that power? Thing is, they did. Cam detects residual grid energy. This world was once connected to the grid. Cam realizes that instead of something growing and erasing the grid here, it might have been intentionally cut off. Tanya feels her morpher pulling her to a strong energy signature near the planet's northern pole. Ari asks how Tanya knows all this, and she explains that her morpher is connected to a Zeo subcrystal. She pieces together that the Solarix is a morpher, ancient and yet more advanced than theirs, since it also functions like a battery, sharing power with other morphers. Remy says the craziest thing is that nobody's been here for years. All this power has been sitting here totally undefended. Okay, nice 2-page spread, a little too much talking, but we see the Rangers make their way north, encountering life forms and fighting their way through. They finally reach the North Pole, which looks like a giant Zeo crystal firing a beam into the sky. As they get there, the Solarix starts drinking in power, pleasing the others. It's been a long day, so they decide to camp there. Mike volunteers for the first watch, saying he's too wired to sleep. It's a lie, as he quickly falls asleep himself. In his dreams, The Praetor approaches him. Mike asks how he's there, and the Praetor says he's not quite there. Mike asks if he's dreaming, but the Praetor leaves that ambiguous. He says Mike wears himself out with the survivor's guilt he carries, and asks if he's ready for that to happen again. Fighting alongside a Solar Ranger, she might survive, but none of his friends will. And then he makes the screwed up psychological threat. Mike will survive. Mike sees the other Rangers, including the Solar Ranger, who the Praetor just said would probably survive, dead on the battlefield. The Praetor says he will make sure that Mike survives to see this happen. Mike approaches Tanya, and the Praetor says that she will die for him. He grabs her body and says he'll do anything not to lose her. He offers his own life for hers. And his other friends too. Yeah, sure. Sensing his chance, the Praetor makes his offer. The Rangers will be spared if Mike brings him the Solarics. Mike worries about the people in the void, but the Praetor says those people were long doomed, and the Rangers only brought them false hope. He makes Mike the same offer that has garnered him so many soldiers. He will take Tanya, Mike, and the other Rangers into the next world, safe and happy. But if Mike doesn't get the Solarics by dawn, only he will survive. We see that he accepts the offer, and racked with guilt, he steals the Solarics. The next morning, Ari wakes up and realizes the Solarics is gone. And, as good as this was going, here's where it dives towards the toilet. Realizing the Solarics has been stolen, do the Rangers search the planet? Look for a thief? Scan for energy? No. Instead, they instantly turn on each other. Andros accuses Remy, saying she was so desperate for Ari to stay with her instead of leaving the Rangers that she stole her powers. Remy turns on Sally, calling her a half-tamed cutthroat. That raises Heckle's hackles, telling her to back off. Mike, oh, this is sickening. Mike plays right into this despite being guilty as sin, turning on Heckle and asking why he's on his third chance. Cam defends him, telling Mike he's got just as much blood on his hands. Not really sure what he's talking about, though. The only one acting sensibly is Ari herself, telling the others to stop this because she had been waiting for them for so long. Remy turns it back on Andros, pointing out they all have something to lose, except for him. He has his sister, and that's all he seems to care about. Remy just about loses it, pulling her blaster and shooting at Andros. Ari screams for her not to, and jumps in the way, taking the shot. The Rangers all turn into battle against each other, and Zordon in his tube, I wish I was kidding about that, as Remy holds Ari. Ari slips away, falling through some kind of void, and coming face to face with the Praetor. Heroes. This issue started out pretty good. The temptation of Mike, love being his downfall, that was awesome. The Praetor's offer was freaking twisted, threatening not to kill Mike, but to keep him alive, the very thing that's been tormenting him all this time. But then it turns, and for the worse. Listen, I get that the Rangers were tired. They had hiked all day across a strange world, and when they woke up, the thing that was most important to them and their mission was gone. But like I said, no attempt to find another explanation. No evidence that the thief was actually one of them. There's been precious little character development in this series, and it is abandoned here by the Rangers acting like petty children. There was a betrayal here. It was this issue getting my hopes up that we might get something good from this arc at the very end. Issue 37 gets 1 star out of 5. This one has 5 covers, and I actually really like the main cover for issue 38. The Praetor is literally playing a game with the Rangers, with the Zeo Crystal in the center. The retro cover is not really an episode, it just features the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Actually, it kind of references the Jew Ranger opening with the buildings and the poses. This cover is cool by itself, but it's going to become cooler with the next issue. Nice cover of the Grid Rangers diving into battle. There's a cover of a Megazord by Xermanico, but I'm not sure what it is yet. The last cover is kind of a spoiler, so we're skipping it for now. In the dark, deep still, Ari is chained up, but the Praetor seeks to calm her. He tells her not to struggle. In fact, he needs her help. He needs the Solarix. She said he made sure that she didn't have it, but you see, he can sort of see the future. Mike is going to have a change of heart and going to give her the Solarix back. So, they should become allies. He admits to being psychic, calling it the least of his powers. Here we go, heroes. Ready to find out who this Praetor is? He says there would be no Rangers without him. She asks if he's a Ranger. No, Ilarian, I am no Ranger. I am a Morphin Master. Yes, folks, the Praetor was one of the Morphin Masters. Here's the cover, by the way, as the Praetor sported a white and red color scheme in his master days. And Nimbar on a platter, a reveal this epic must be ruined by a 2-page spread covered in word balloons as he monologues.
You sly dog! You got me monologuing! I can't believe it!
Ooh, here we go. This is a perfect encapsulation of the issues with this arc. 9 issues, and the Praetor and Void's entire backstory is shoved onto these 2 pages. So, the Masters were one of the first to discover the morphing grid. As they studied its power, they found a villain, likely either Master Vile or Lord Zed, who managed to get a mere shard of the Zeo crystals and destroyed worlds and planets with it. They defeated that villain and hid the crystal in the Caves of Deception on the moon. They traced the source of its power back and found this planet made entirely of Zeo crystals. They knew if just one of the crystals could destroy worlds, this planet falling into the wrong hands would be apocalyptic. However, they couldn't just blast the planet. The crystals were connected to the grid, and the grid was not just connected to one reality, but all of them. Yes, heroes, multiple realities, one single morphing grid for all of them. Every plan they came up with had similar fatal weaknesses. Until one. Yes, they would cut this world and the space around it off from the morphing grid. Without the grid, all life in the region would die, but the rest of reality would be safe from the Zeo planet. However, being the noble creatures they are, they would not leave the Void to die alone. They would send one representative to share the Void's fate. The Praetor volunteered. He explains to Ari that the Solarix can absorb and transmit grid energy because it's basically a knife, the instrument that sliced the Void away from the grid. Let's find that fast forward button and stand on it, shall we? Ari wakes up, and the Rangers made nice and Mike came clean off freaking panel. He admits to Ari that he stole the Solarix and gives it back, just as the Praetor predicted. He apologizes, but Ari isn't worried about that right now, telling the team she could see into his mind as well. He can get to them best when they're weak, and there's much she needs to tell them. Later, for Zordon's sake. Oh, right, lost in all the other details this comic barfed at us all at once is the fact that they did try to explain the Rangers' behavior, as the Praetor had booby-trapped this planet, and one of the traps was a poison that would turn the Rangers on each other. Nice try, still not buying it. Anyway, after Ari recaps the past few pages, really a mercy to us if you think about it, the Rangers feel guilty. Maybe the Morphin Masters made the right move, and the Rangers really have given the Void a sense of false hope. But she says that the Praetor lies, and she was able to see the things that he wasn't saying as well. He didn't come to the Void alone. He brought a team of Power Rangers. We then see him say this despite Ari saying that he didn't. Since energy cannot be destroyed, he used the Solarics to share that grid energy with a team of Rangers brave enough to come with him. His idea was sort of to hold the line, to keep the Void safe until the Masters found a way to make it safe for the rest of reality again. But as time went on, he realized there was no hope and the Void was doomed. And to make it worse, the Rangers he brought with him did not accept this with the same dignity as he did. They fought desperately to stay alive, offending him. And we need to stop right there because we need to talk about this. I have been told that this is the yellow Solar Ranger. Boy, that's a weird looking shade of yellow, isn't it? Nah, heroes, I'm sorry. That's an Orange Ranger right there. Don't try to tell me that's yellow. The suit has yellow on it. Orange Ranger. Anyway, the Praetor no longer saw his Rangers as worthy, and he turned on them. They knew the Solarics was more than a knife. It could reconnect things when the Masters were ready for it. But the Praetor saw that hope as poison, knowing he had to destroy the Solarics and these Rangers. He says he was betrayed in this effort by his 7th, final Ranger, the Purple Solar Ranger. That Ranger, now Ari, tells the others that the Solarics wasn't just a knife, but the final gift from the Masters. Hope. Again, energy can never be destroyed, so the energy that severed the Void from the grid can also re-establish that connection. The Rangers worry about reconnecting the Void to the grid since that would make the Zeo planet accessible. Andros points out the bigger issue. The Solarics is exactly where the Praetor wants it, near plenty of energy to destroy it and finish off the Void. Cam points out that the Solarics hasn't fully recharged, so they can't morph. But Ari knows what to do. She removes the shard of Zeo Crystal from the Solarics and steps on it, shattering it. Ari says the Masters never wanted the Void to be alone. They sent Rangers to protect it. She says she once offered the Solarics to them, but it turns out it was never hers to offer. She hands out the shards to the other Rangers, since it was always intended to be theirs to share. A light erupts at the center of them, and she tells them to offer what they have to the light. As each Ranger holds their morpher in the light, we get what's really the end of their character arcs. Mike has been forgiven and now needs to prove that he is worthy of that forgiveness. Heckle can fail and knows that failing isn't the end. Sally truly is a part of this team. Cam is seen, noticed, and valued. Tanya learns that even the smallest amount of good is worth fighting for. Interestingly, while Ari recites the others' lessons, Andros says his own, that he is truly a full part of this team. Remy didn't really need a lesson, but seems to find this all very sweet as the Rangers hold the shards up to their morphers, and a brand new team is formed. Heroes, meet the new Solar Rangers. I will say that Tanya's suit does seem to have a lot more yellow on it, and of course all of their suits match their respective colors, but Tanya's suit does still have a lot of orange on it, doesn't it? This is actually a fascinating look at the Praetor's motivations and what makes him tick. He's of course upset that the Solar Rangers are back, and his soldiers report that the Rangers are calling for their allies. He realizes that if they reconnect the Void to the grid, the crystals will be in danger, and all of the evil he has done will be for nothing. Not the mercy of death, but base murder. He takes up his sword and declares that nobody is taking his legacy figures from him. The Rangers prepare for the battle they know is coming. They are going to make their stand on the Zeo planet. Why? All the crystals force the Praetor into fighting hand-to-hand. He even seemed to realize that, hence grabbing a sword. Heckle says they aren't just Solar Rangers now. They know how to fight as a team. I guess maybe because of their shared powers? And they're ready for the poisonous traps. The fleet arrives, and the Rangers trash talk their main opponent. Kinda boring two-page spread as the Rangers fight their opponents. I'll take the chance to talk about something I don't get. See here how these two panels are just one picture split in half? Why is that? I've never gotten splitting one picture into two frames. Anyway, the Praetor comes up behind Ari, and has her right where he wants her. Near the end of this issue, Cam references A Tale of Two Cities, and I think that's pretty fitting. It was the best of stories, it was the worst of stories. So much potential, so poorly executed. This issue was basically centered on who the Praetor is and why he's doing this. But one, why are we learning that so late in this arc? And two, why are we taking the crux of all that and shoving it into one two-page spread when that takes away from what is really an interesting backstory and makes the rest of this issue boring? The Rangers get new stable powers, a new Ranger team takes the stage, and I couldn't possibly care less. Issue 38 gets a 2 out of 5. Here we are, heroes. We've finally made it. Issue 39 is the finale of Beyond the Grid.
Let's get this over with.
So, being somewhat of an event, there are actually 7 covers for this one, but I ran into something of an interesting problem. You see, I get my cover images from 2 different sources, Comic Vine and Ranger Wiki. Comic Vine, for some reason, doesn't always have all the covers, but usually whatever one site misses, the other one has. Except for this time, seeing as Ranger Wiki actually doesn't have a completed page for issue 39. So, I only have access to what Comic Vine has, and that's only 4 of the 7 covers. The main cover features the new Solar Rangers reaching for the sky. This artistic cover features most of the Solar Rangers, but someone is missing. It's either Andros or Sally. The shading makes it kind of hard to tell. Poster quality shot of Terra Promethea. Remember how I said for issue 38 that the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers cover would become even cooler in the next issue? Here we are. This cover features the 3 Beast Morphers Rangers and... wait for it, they connect. Yes, this is a cover inspired by the Sentai tradition of passing the torch. Notice how Jason and Devin are fist bumping. This cover was a farewell from artist Jordan Gibson, who was moving on from the series. The Praetor towers over the Rangers, finally facing them in person. "Give me the Solarix, Rangers, or I will slice open your ship and use your friends to power my engines." Ari tells him she can't give him the Solarix because it no longer exists. But he says this actually makes things easier. With the energy split 7 ways, he only needs to destroy 1 Ranger and the Void will stay forever disconnected. He says he offered mercy, but Ari says that he's been lying so long that he's come to actually believe it, and he won't let anyone live if he cannot be their savior. He wants so badly to be a martyr, but he's already failed at it. If he died when he came to the Void, he would have died happy, but by waiting for death to come, he got impatient. But his Rangers did not, and their inheritors now stand against him. The Rangers' allies arrive with Terra Promethea. Cam reports to Torona about the Solarix, and I love Torona's reaction. Oh.
I get it!
In a breakneck attempt at character redemption, TJ is manning the station's guns. Yay! So the energy from the Solarix is split, but the Zeo planet still has more than enough grid energy. Torona runs some calculations, while the Rangers keep the Praetor busy. He offers a trip to paradise to whoever destroys a piece of the Solarix. Ari tells the Praetor that all he's done will come to be nothing, then has a thought. Her little animals, the energy Zords from before. The Rangers raise their hands to the sky, and with the spirits of the past Solar Rangers supporting them, they create some of the ugliest Zords I have ever seen. They're just vehicles with random stripes everywhere. Oh, Rangers, you and your silly toys. Hey dude, you were the one talking about legacy figures earlier. Two-page spread of the space battle that should be epic and amazing, but by this point my eyes are glazing over, especially since there's speech bubbles all over it. The only part that matters is at the bottom, as the Praetor is handling the Zords while Torona keeps calculating. He finishes and reports to the Rangers. The Zeo planet has the last Morphin energy left in the grid. It's enough to reconnect the Void, but they need the Solarix to do so. It must be fully reunited to handle that much power. But how can they fix a broken crystal?
Phil Swift here for Flex Glue.
No, but the Rangers start to realize how, as the Praetor basically snaps, declaring the Void unworthy of the sacrifice he was going to make. The Rangers inform Ari that the cool thing about having Zords is that those Zords are usually able to combine. The Praetor just goes off the deep end, seeing his own soldiers now changing sides and attacking them. Cam tells him to pick on someone his own size, and say hello to the Solar Megazord, and it's just as generic and ugly as the Zords are. Actually, it kind of looks like a Gundam. Those are cool, but for a Megazord, it just doesn't convey the sense that these are combined Zords. Torona tells the Rangers to get their new Megazord into the beam of energy coming from the planet. They do so, and focusing that energy through the, so I guess we could call this the Solarix Megazord then, fires a beam into space. The Praetor screams, and that it can't have all been for nothing. I was really confused when I first read this because I had no idea what happened to him. I'm still kind of confused. The beam does seem to hit him for some reason. I guess the Rangers redirected it into him, and these frames seem to indicate that he's in the beam and being killed. Then there's a big swirl in space. It's a pretty picture, I guess. Cam, I think, since the captions are green, says he can feel their universes, yes plural, pulling them back. A flower sprouts on the Zeo planet, and Sally points out the significance. This is new life. The morphing grid is back. Grace calls the Rangers. They're also getting pulled back, and while they may be headed back to a world where Draken won and everyone they ever cared about is dead, it's time for them to go home. The Rangers give up their new powers, returning the Solarix shards to Ari. She asks if they are concerned that the planet could fall into the wrong hands, but they say it's in the right hands now. Hers. The Rangers then just literally fly right off the planet.
We can fly!
Sally, who for this one occasion I will properly address as Kimberly, provides the final narration. She says she thinks Draken is waiting for them back in their world, but here, they fought a god, a Morphin master who became corrupt because he wasn't adored for being the savior he thought he would, could, or should have been. That doesn't even begin to make sense. Draken in one universe, the Praetor in another, stuck in the middle with you. Sorry. Darkness and evil just seem to be a constant of reality. Ari drops the Solaric shards on the ground and immediately picks them back up. Yeah. Anyway, she and Remy are awed that the Rangers really did it, freed the void and connected them with the grid again. Ari says they made it home, with no indication that she'd have any idea if that was actually true. Ari says the two of them can round up the remaining Praetor troops and even find and teach people worthy of being the new Solar Rangers. We get a frame of each of their lips and then them holding hands, Ari saying, "Never alone again." And if you haven't picked up on the subtext by now, I'm afraid I can't help you. Of course, sadly, this channel has had a few viewers that would either willfully ignore or be disgusted by that subtext, but I'm just going to leave that there. The two hold hands, and Remy is morphed into the Orange Solar Ranger. So this is a little confusing. I've heard her officially referred to as the Orange Solar Ranger, and her suit is different than the one Tanya was wearing. There did seem to be an orange on the original team, as I pointed out, but it just calls into question whether that team had both an orange and a yellow Ranger. Remy then sees a star, and Ari calls it a tiny sun, hope in the darkness. Yeah, none of those other stars in the same shot were qualified to be hope in the darkness. Ending this on some straight foolishness, Terra Promethea and the Rangers are just plummeting through a white void. In fact, it seems that Corone morphed and left the station, leaping into the whiteout. To her credit, Kimberly has no idea what's happening, whether they're flying or falling, etc. She wonders what they're headed back to, Draken and his dark reality, or their own separate worlds to not even remember this. Kim decides that maybe it's enough if she just tries to remember, and hopes that will indeed be enough. Beyond the Grid ends just as confusingly as it has been. 3 people seem to be standing on top of Terra Promethea, and the final frame seems to be Grace, eyes closed as they enter, or exit, the White Rift. First of all, allow me to say that I feel like the Rangers here were entering the correction that the other Rangers made using the Heart of the Master, since that also faded into a white void. So I would imagine that they were all returned to their own dimensions, and sadly... No, actually, I take that back. Not sadly. It's probably for the best. They will not remember this. I am so tempted to jump into my thoughts on Beyond the Grid as a whole, but we need to wrap up issue 39 itself first. As the wrap-up to an entire arc of a storyline, this was terrible! It's badly paced. Stuff just happens. The Rangers never even seem to struggle in their final battle against their main villain. Things like becoming a brand new team of Power Rangers, getting new Zords, forming a Megazord. Just momentary blips. And the ending is just as abrupt. They flip the on switch for the grid, the Praetor explodes, and it's like, alright, time to go home, bye! The farewell with Ari and Remy was heartfelt, but far too short. Ari was one of the Rangers, one of the heroes, and she has to stay here while the others have to leave. And speaking of leaving, if those Rangers feel like they're headed back to a world that's right back to their battle with Lord Draken, they should be terrified about what awaits them. Issue 39 gets a 1 out of 5. I am willing to give this arc this. Similar to Star Trek Enterprise, I feel like the series was planned to go a lot longer. This wasn't an event, it was the mainline story, so I feel like they wanted it to go on for a lot longer, but surely sales of the series dropped, plummeted probably, and change was desperately needed. But here's my counter to that point. That was not the case in the early issues of this arc, and they're not any better. Beyond the Grid is a series where stuff just happens. Everyone and everything feels thrown together. And some of that is intentional as part of the theme. This is the story of a randomly selected team of Rangers who had to adapt to a brand new team that was different than the team that they got used to. They had to grow and change and adapt. But they didn't. These Rangers are exactly who they were when this arc started. They make some confessions to each other, learn to trust each other a little more, but we get very shallow looks at who these Rangers are now and what being in the void has done to them. I find myself having to agree with Japanime here. The best character in Beyond the Grid may have just been its villain, the Praetor. There's a twisted sort of logic to him, prevented from his own heroic martyrdom by the very people that he was seeking to protect and their desire to keep on fighting. He became a champion for death, even his own, and even used the false promise of going to a better place to build an army. It gives this story a unique angle, the Rangers fighting for the value of life versus a villain who, if you think about it, would probably be happier if he were dead. However, the arc did not have enough time to explore his turn from Morphin Master to villain, the twist point between wanting to die for these people and feeling that they were no longer worth dying for. His backstory deserved an entire issue, not just a 2-page spread. The high point of this arc is easily issue 35, and it's not even a Beyond the Grid story. It's Heckle telling his backstory of becoming the Dark Ranger, with the Void stuff just there as a kind of outer framing device. It was very well written and very entertaining, filling in a gap in the show's story that it never did. The low point of this arc was everything else.
Wow, this is all starting to sound needlessly mean, isn't it?
Okay, that's not exactly fair. There are two specific low points that come to mind. One was when we found out the depowered Rangers resented the Grid Rangers for having their powers still, and the other was when the Grid Rangers turned on each other. Poison schmoison. It barely had time to impact them, and it shredded the little bit of character development we had gotten to insert a little drama into the story. There's a quote I've always remembered. The source is a little hard to track down. I may not know art, but I know what I like. I also know what I hate, and while I hate to say it, I hated Beyond the Grid. Just like Super Mega Force, some of the things that get to me most about my most hated parts of Power Rangers is the inability to realize potential. And we had amazing potential for Beyond the Grid story, about a stranded team of Rangers, a chance to allow us to deeply explore some of the most interesting characters in the Power Rangers mythos, and having internal conflict. Yes, I'm not against internal conflict, but internal conflict handled organically, not just, oh, there's poison and they hate each other now. And then around that, a new mysterious Ranger. Is she friend or foe? Where do her powers come from, especially in a world without a grid? And then the battle that she portends, that she prophesies against such a strong and powerful villain. That is not what we got. We got a surface-level look at a team of randomly gathered Rangers that meet a brand new Ranger who shows up because she shows up and then stuff happens. There's a bad guy, but he's only a threat mentally in your head until the very end of the story when he's not a threat at all. Stuff happened, things exploded, and nobody cared. Let that be your epitaph, Beyond the Grid. Stuff happened, things exploded, nobody cared. As I finally start to catch up with the current issues, the number of issues per video is going to decrease. Go-Go Power Rangers Forever Rangers is a basically double-length issue, so I feel like it should have its own dedicated video. But before we get to that arc capper, let's take a look at the issues that set it up. Next time on a comically long review, Go-Go Power Rangers issues 19 and 20. That is going to do it for another comically long review. Heroes, thank you so much as always for watching and for listening to my ranting in this case. Kind of took me back to my Ninja Steel days. In the comments below, have at it. Your thoughts on Beyond the Grid. Did you hate it like me? Did you love it? What did you love? What did you hate, like, dislike? Let me know all that down in the comments below. While you're down there in the comments, why don't you go ahead and smack that thumbs up button and let me know that you enjoyed this video. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel to see all my videos and ring that bell. Get your notifications set up so you're notified by email, text message, smoke signal, whatever, when I post brand new videos like these comically long reviews. And if you would like to lend any financial support to my channel, head over to ko-fi.com/OrangeRangerVideos. Buy me a coffee. Those are set at $3, and I greatly appreciate anything that I find at that site. Until next time, heroes, when the comics start finally getting better again, may the power protect you. This incredible drawing of the Gravesword was done by Alejandro Germanico, a.k.a. Mike sees the other Rangers, including the Solar Ranger, who the Praetor just said would Mike sees the other Solar Ranger. Only he will survive. Page. Shit. And as good as this was going, in the deep, oh God. Oh, right, lost in all the other details. Why? All the was that a page? No, shit. Heckle says there aren't This issue, basically, this issue. Near the end of this issue, Cam references A Tale of Two Cities, and I think it's pretty fitting. Gosh, dang it. And two, why are we taking... Ari tells the Praetor that he's done all will done is done, done will done is done of done. Then has a thought. Her little animals, God dang it. Cam, I think since God dang it. Beyond the Grid, it's really just similar to Ninja Steel and other seasons that I haven't liked. Super Mega Force actually mainly comes to mind. Yeah. We just had such a wonderful setup. You might notice that some of the things about Power Rangers I hate most, the